All right, everybody, happy Tuesday. If you've been watching the shenanigans just before we went live here, Carrie is frantically trying to search for a movie title and was determined she was going to do it before we went live. I don't think she got there.
I didn't.
Womp.
I didn't.
Happy Tuesday. We are here to share DIY and painting and the love of crafting and creating, and we are so happy to share in your creative journey.
Heck
Yeah. Heck yeah.
Heck yeah.
I'm Patty.
I'm Carrie.
And we are StudioR12. And we're super excited about today's lessons. We have new products. We have interesting techniques. I'm going to show you how to avoid problems. I'm going to show you some foiling. I'm going to show you how to, I'll save that one.
She has all kinds of cool things.
I've got cool things to go today.
When she was telling me what all she was going to do.
We're going to paint with varnish.
Yes. So I make sure that the stuff is cut and on the table. And then it's up to her to work the magic.
She gave me a pile like this.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, what?
And then I came in to sit down and she said, I'm doing this. And I was like, all right.
Yeah.
That's going to be fun.
Cool, yeah. It's a really, really good lesson. So you guys, your only job is to give us a thumbs up and a heart.
Yeah.
Or subscribe and ring the bell, that kind of thing. But it also to ask us questions. We are here live specifically on Tuesdays at noon. So you guys know where to find us and ask your questions live so you get the answers you want.
So I'm going to just read off a comment real quick because when you ask what sets StudioR12 apart from other stencil things, there's a few things. Like we have a ton of sizes. We have from teeny tiny to ginormous. Yeah. But our friend Vicky just said, I just have to say that one really does not appreciate the beauty and artistry of StudioR12 stencils until one uses one from another source.
That is such a true statement.
Like, we have the sizes, but on top of that, we have someone who just started working with us, and she has been in the process of learning all the things about us, and we've been working with her on the beauty of our bridging.
And it's hard, you guys. Making a beautiful bridged stencil is hard. She's left-handed, and her teacher is right-handed, and so we're showing her the bridging and stuff. And so when she was practicing, like all the lines were in a different path, kind of thing. And it doesn't have to be the same, but it's just a style thing. We work really hard at our bridging.
Yeah.
And there was one example of another stencil company that we happen to have here, and her trainer was like, look at this, straight down the middle. Like, yeah. And it's just super G.I. Joe stencil, and so we work really hard to make sure that we have good, well-bridged stencils. Yeah. And then we have another interesting, shall we introduce this week's?
Absolutely. Okay. So on Tuesdays, you can find us live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch. We are all over the place. But then on Saturdays, we release videos on YouTube that are more lesson focused. They're succinct. We don't have the chit chat.
Yeah, it's just about the lessons in the video.
And sometimes they are on a project, but there's always lessons. So even if you don't know that you're going to paint a football project,
sure,
we can guarantee you're probably going to learn 5 or 10 things.
Yeah.
And so for this weekend's video that we are about to release, it came from our stencil fan questions. We had a couple stencil fans who purchased a brand new stencil for fall of 2023, and they contacted us and said, okay, I have a couple questions on this. So we thought, okay, this is the perfect thing for us to paint so that Patty can show it, and then anybody else who's purchased it has some tips and tricks up their sleeve so they can work on it.
So particularly with this part right here, the stencil can be used with only the embellishment part of the leaf and not the undercoloring. And because a lot of stencilers aren't painters, if that makes sense, they don't, use the flat brushes and do the base coating and shading and techniques and stuff. There's a lot of really amazing techniques out there, but because it's stenciling, we want to make this super easy. So we did a second layer, and the second layer was separate from the main stencil, and that made it look like it was the overlay and that was the underlay, and so that was like a little confusing. So we cleared that up, but then while I was at it, I show how to do a fade. So the stencil, when you apply paint through it, is a stencil. And then the stencil, when you apply this shadowy effect and these different layers of colors and spattering through the stencil, becomes a mask. And so we're masking off this outer area, and now we are using that stencil intently. So I did the same thing with the lettering, did it with the leaves, and so it's a lot of really cool techniques. You can use them on any letters, on any icon, so it doesn't have to just be one. So it's a really good lesson. I think it started out at 1 hour and 45 minutes. Steve is over there cringing right now because he's the editor.
So I haven't watched it yet, so looking at it today up close, there's something that, Steve, if I can have you zoom in on the F here, that I'm going to watch from my computer as you zoom in. So something that I noticed that I thought was just like hippie noodle, Patty did it again, that the spatter through the F goes with the highlight. So she used a white spatter where it's really bright, and then used a dark spatter where it's really dark, and
controlled spatter.
Magic.
What?
It's magic. Yeah.
You guys, it is
I
super.
love that she just popped out. It was zoomed in real close to you, and then you're like, hello.
Sorry about that. I don't see what Carrie sees. If I can see my face when we film, I can't talk.
That was great. That's probably going to be the best. I hope that's what they pick as the screenshot.
No.
But yeah, so that will be released on Saturday morning on our YouTube channel. And then I don't often toot my own horn, but toot toot. Deb Snyder on YouTube said it was a great lesson by Carrie this past Saturday. So this past weekend we did a fun fall stacked sign that we did some cutout embellishments with some different plaids, and then showed how to make them seasonal and use words.
And that was really all fun. Carrie's idea too. So it was her little brainchild, and it's really cute.
Yeah, it was
really,
a fun
really
project. Thank you.
Yeah, and so some of those things, when we think of wall space, I once had a lady that was super fan, and she also liked all the same artists that I liked, and so we were painting, and she came to visit, and she was like, I don't have any more wall space, and she just had run out. And so when you can take one wall space, one board, one art, and change out the little panels like Carrie did, then that just makes it just super functional. Yeah. And you can make your decor seasonal without having to store a whole lot of stuff and do a big changeover.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
fun.
that.
So if you are, one announcement very quick.
This is super
Today
important.
is October 10th, 2023. It is my bonus daughter's birthday, so I know this day. But today is the last day to do your pre-order for the October 2023 project of the month. Pre-orders in today on 10/10/23. You have throughout the night to order them, and they will not be available tomorrow. So
you guys, I have done all of the painting and the things, and we've done the designy stuff and everything. There's a background stencil that's included in this set. That's the biggest sneak peek that I'm going to give you. And it's magical. It's absolutely magical. It's my
probably
favorite.
One of my favorite background pattern stencils that we have.
Incredible. And the arts and the things are there. This is good.
Yeah, and you'll only be able to get it right now through the project of the month. We are still kind of ironing out how we're going to do things in the future.
We're looking at around 6 months before you can get it, and so that puts us in front of. It'll be next year. So if you see it, you're gonna see it, because everybody's gonna get their boxes, and they're gonna be like, oh my gosh, look what I did, and then you're gonna be like, Arr!
And I can release one more tiny thing.
Yeah. Okay.
So
each month, release it all. We're just
I'm just gonna show you. So normally each month the subscribers to the box for each month get on a special email list, and on that email list you get some fun emails from us with photos and ideas and different things, and you get links to videos. So when you get your box, you'll have a link to watch a video. So in the past we've done one video per month.
Yeah.
This month we're releasing 2, because the project was so amazing that we did 2 projects and released 2 separate videos because they're completely different.
And they're so cool.
pieces.
Like I just really like, yeah.
Yeah, so I'll share the link to that.
I blew my own hippie noodle.
That's
what
we
did.
did. She did it. So then that is that. Today, if you are on our newsletter, if you're not on our newsletter, you need to get on our newsletter because everything is happening there.
StudioR, the letter R, 12.com.
Yep. And then when you get on there, if you are not subscribed to the newsletter, there will be a big spin wheel that'll pop up and take up your whole screen. And then you'll enter your email address. You'll spin the wheel. You'll probably get a coupon for your first order. And then you will start getting emails from us telling you about sales, new product releases. So for those of you who are on our email list, you have already seen what we're talking about today. Today we have released 22 new surfaces that we are super excited about.
And if you're on a computer, if you're feeling willing, hearts for Kathleen, because Kathleen got them all. She's a busy girl and she got them all listed for us.
Yes.
So give her a thumbs up, say yay Kathleen, thank you.
Yes, thank you Kathleen.
It takes a team, you guys. To get all this done, it takes a team, and we have a great team.
Yep.
All right, so
okay, we're releasing frames. And these are all going to be 2-part surfaces. They come with the back and they come with an overlay. There are squares, there are circles, there are rectangles, there are, multi-size things. Yeah. And so when we first started talking about them in the newsletter, I kind of mentioned like transform your picture frame. So do something cool with a family photo.
Yeah.
But today, Patty's going to show you
how to make it a surface.
How to make it a surface for your projects and totally go a different direction than what we had originally
you could put a photo trimmed down in any of these, so that's their traditional frames. However, we're going to use the frame to frame other wood. We're going to use the frame to frame a stencil. We're going to do the whole 9 yards here today, and I'm going to show you all the tricks. Super easy. So now my first part is, where in the world do I start? Let's start here and just do an overview of what we're talking about. Okay, so the frames are 2 pieces. So you have back and a front, and they have all this beautiful laser detail. Okay, so that's what we're talking about. So that's butterflies and greenery. And then we also have round things. I'm going to get this guy because I want to show it over. I got to show it on the back of this guy. I'm a busy little girl right here. Okay, so with the overlays, you could also put them on like a flat piece of wood. So you don't have to just use them on their shape that they come with. You could totally do all kinds of things with them. Okay, so let's get that organized. So there's a whole bunch of styles. We have spring, we have Halloween. Let's show off the little Halloween guy. This is one that I painted a few years ago. And this is just such a fun little project because super simple. This background is stenciled. The word is stenciled. And then these guys I painted, the castle is stenciled as well. They all come off of our stencils. And when we are looking at the background words, one of my favorite things, I'm going to show this in this example, and we're going to paint one example. And I have a book, this planner with the little punch, and it's a word book. And these word stencils are amazing. We've got them for Christmas. We've got them for creativity. We've got them for wine. We've got them for Italy. We've got them for all kinds of things, gardening. Like we've got love, 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 love. And it's such a great thing to have these because each of these, did I pull out the monsters? I don't know that I did. Let's pull this guy out. Each one of these words is a stencil on its own, and I'm going to show you that today. So your love, if you need a love in a small size, there it is. If you need create, there it is. I'm reading these backwards.
And I have done a video on this where we pulled out words from I think it was a hot tub words sign, and we used it on several different things. So I'll share the link to that video.
Card making, gift bag making, mixed media in your journal making, any of that. What's neat about this disc journal is that these just pop, once you punch them with the punch, they just pop back in. And what I really love is how durable that is. Like that is a lot of stencils. That's easily 20 or more stencils. And you can get small discs and big discs, and you can make your book as big as you want, and having them in the book makes it easy to shop. So if you have a Christmas book, if you have a word book, if you have, those kinds of things, when you start getting your stencil collection, then you can easily just flip through and find what you need. So that is amazing. All right, so we're gonna go from our little Halloween guide, we're gonna jump into grapes.
So we're
This is a good story.
gonna have a little talk about the grapes for this one. So one of the surfaces
Are these on sale?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, they are on sale. I'm getting ready to share the link,
Okay.
so you'll have to check out and see what the sale is. But yesterday there was one of these projects surfaces on my desk, and when my bonus daughter came after school, I said, "Oh, hey, just run and throw that on the painting table for tomorrow so that Patty can have it." And she came back in and she said, "Where'd you get that sign?"
She's 11, by the way.
Yeah, she's 11. So she said, "Where'd you get that sign?" I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "Well, where'd you get it?" I said, "Well, Patty painted it. If it's in there, Patty painted it." And she said, "She didn't paint the one with the grapes on it." So show them the one with the grapes. Like she's been here for a while. Like,
Yeah.
she has been here since she was what, 4 or 6? I don't
Yeah.
know, 5, 11, 7, who knows?
Whatever.
She's been here for a few years. So she's seen all the things that we can do. And her hippie noodle was blown. She could not believe that this was a project that Patty actually painted that we didn't buy from somewhere.
And so what's cool about it is this is a stencil. So if we go right over here, we can do the overhead camera. So see how that fits right perfectly there? So that's going to be your first coat of colors. Then you're going to move it. It has an etched outline so that you can get it lined up exactly where it should be. And that's going to be your next layer. So they're looking like I'm not doing it right, but that's because it's the background. And then each layer gets more in front, and then the final layer is in front. So that's why it looks so deep. It looks like you have a bunch of grapes because of a layered stencil. We have layered chicken stencils. We have layered pheasant stencils. We have layered bird stencils, layered roses, you guys.
We have a video on that. I'll share that too.
Do you know how many tears roses have given painters? Like I'm talking like severe trauma. Anyway, so this is the grapes, and I've got this on a background paper, and then I painted them in all of the colors so that you can see how to do that in all the colors. It's just lovely. They come in like 5 sizes, 4 sizes, something like that. Okay, so now let's jump into painting something. So I'm going to start with when you have these overlays, how do you paint the overlays? So that's super important. And if you guys can like clear your mechanism for a hot second and listen to what I'm going to say, you can do 2 things with these. You can treat them with contrast. So the contrast here is like black to this light sage green. Or I could do something like really close in value to the background color. The more contrast you have, like the more you have dark to light, then you're going to get the busyness of the frame. But the more close you get, you're going to have like less of that. So if I was, actually you can see it here, this even in the wood is way less busy than the black is, but the art is gorgeous. So I just really wanted to showcase the art. It just looks so gardeny, and the bloom where you're planted is just such a good lesson in life. So I kept it clean. I want the contrast, but you can choose, bring that contrast together, and you're not going to have any difference. Actually, I'll show you this one that we're getting ready to do. I did this frame set in the same color. So that is adding an element, but it's not adding busyness. It's not adding weight. It's not adding any of that stuff. So that is something to think about when you're painting these, because you can really take it to the bank. Have fun with it. Okay, I want to show you how to paint these because that is important. And so I've already got half done, and then I've bagged up my ink sweeper. Ink sweepers are in stock today. Its supply chain has been just ongoing, and I just don't want to talk about it. When I get my ink sweeper out of the bag, I like to crumple it up and put it under a bottle of paint so that I don't have it drying out inside the bag.
Well, and I'm also going to say, yes, the supply chain is crazy, but we get these in a very large quantity when we get them, and they do not stay in stock. Like, they go.
They work.
Well, and you know, and people, after they get one, they realize I need more.
Yeah.
And so then I think we had an order yesterday where someone ordered 4 or 5 of each of them.
If you're going to change colors, you need a couple sizes. I just went over to reach for a new sheet of what I'm using as palette paper. This is the cheapest palette paper ever, and it's washable and reusable, and it comes in a long strip like this. You've seen me use them as a straight edge because they're laser cut. You've seen me use them as a mask, and then you've seen me cut them into thirds. And then that is what I'm going to use to put my paint on. You can do throwaway paper plates and all of that kind of stuff. I do like a flat surface when I'm mixing. I've done the meat containers, which is a little bit today, but whatever. That's a good face. Okay, so we're going to use number 28, which is black. And we are going to put some out on our palette. Anyway, they're really affordable, aren't they?
I think they're $2.99 a piece, or you can get 5 for $13.99.
Yeah.
I hope I said that right.
And then the reusability, check out our video on how to wash or clean your stencils, and that will show you how to take care of them. All right, so we've got our ink sweeper. Notice I loaded, and then I went over here and I offloaded. If you offload in the same basic location, sometimes you can go back. This is a pro tip. You can go back and you can pick up from your pile of paint that you put on your paper towel. So when you do this, I'm going to use one type I'm going to use the jumbo dauber for the middle areas, and then I'm going to switch to an ink sweeper for the straights. It's just way faster, way easier. So just tap, tap, and I'm not pushing. So I'm going to show, I always paint on my hand when I'm teaching. So if I tap, 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 right, I get some paint. If I push, I get like a lot of paint. So what we want to do is not push. And so when we're on here, we're just tap, tap, tapping. 2 thin coats go twice as fast as 2 heavy coats. And then heavy coats bleed under and suck around the edges, and it's just terrible. And what I'd like to point out is if you're here and you don't have a long lunch break, look how fast that covers. The jumbo daubers they make short work of anything that you need to base. And when, for whatever reason, doing the stippling with this does not make me mad like it does when I have to do it with a dome brush.
Well, and we just had a question that I would like to answer. So let me see who asked the question. Janice Turner said, how do you clean the ink sweepers? It seems like I always mess mine up. So you're not alone. I used them last week and I messed one up too, to the point that I had to throw it away. So you will run it underneath the water.
Cold water.
Cold water.
No soap.
No soap. And you literally just squeeze down on it with a couple of fingers.
Yep.
In an up and down squeeze position until it runs clear, like you do with your brushes. What you don't want to do, and this was one that I did it with, is you don't want to pull it.
Yeah.
This is a new one, and it's still kind of firm, but if it has been used a little bit and it has some paint in it, when you pull your finger down on it, it can rip the sponge. And that's what happened to me. I started pulling. I was tired of cleaning brushes.
We collect the brush bins.
I think I cleaned 3 buckets of brushes last week.
Same.
And I was also painting a project with a lot of details and a lot of colors. And I had like 40 brushes for one project. And so I was pouting. And so just know that you put it under the cold water, you don't use soap, and you just squish, 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 squish until the paint comes out. Do not drag your finger on it.
That is such a good lesson. I have not ever tried to drag my finger on it,
Well,
but and so look at the rough of this guy. He has obviously been to convention with me, and conventions have been years ago, years and years. He's still nice and squishy. He's got a firm squish, but he's not a crunchy squish. And his sides are actually still flexible. And I mean, this is a well used little ink sweeper. So this is the straight ink sweeper. And so see, it's about as wide as my finger. And then this guy is like twice as wide. That's why this goes so fast for big areas. When you're using your ink sweeper, you do it the same. You just put a little bit of paint on, you daub it off. And then when you're going in I kind of did all my straights while you guys were talking about that. But it just trails right along your straight edges, and it just goes fast because you're like almost 3 inches there, you know? So it just, you can cover some ground.
And I love, my favorite thing to use the ink sweeper for is stripes. So when we use our tea towel stripe stencil, or if there's stripes built into a stencil that you're using, it's such a great tool to have. However, when you are using it for stenciling, you have to offload. Otherwise, you are going to bleed under. I ran into it last week and had to completely rebase coat an entire project because I did it, but I didn't do it enough. And
what I love about Carrie being on the team of painters is she is newer to painting and doesn't have like my history. So I have history that I just lean on and borrow from that I don't even know I'm doing that with. She's coming at it completely green. You never did paint, right? Besides at boardroom.
No. I think I did one project at boardroom, and it turned out fine. Like it turned out good.
Good teachers.
I mean, I still have it hanging on my wall.
Anyway, so you're getting the fresh perspective, and then she's taught me a bunch of things as well. So it goes both ways. The street goes both ways. Anyway, so for the flat areas, these also really do a good job of base coating. And since I've got the applicator wet, I'm just going to go ahead and do it rather than switching out and dirtying something else that I'd have to wash and do the thing. So then that is perfectly dry. And so then you just go and you get yourself another coat. Anything with straight lines, get that ink sweeper out. If I was doing a ratio of ink sweeper to jumbo dauber, I would have at least 5 of the jumbo daubers and 2 or 3 of the ink sweepers. I don't use the ink sweeper as often. And the jumbo dauber will do what the ink sweeper does, but in a straight line, you cannot beat the ink sweeper. So that's why just a couple of those.
And I used the ink sweeper in my project over the weekend.
So you can watch that video too.
On the embellishments.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which also, so basically this frame is one giant embellishment. And so it is cut exactly like these guys. So when you're painting these guys, you are gonna go ahead and you're gonna do the same exact techniques. So snowflakes, any little, I had keys out playing with it, with the frame over here today. And so you can use them exactly the same. And also for big letter stencils, let me show you that. Put this aside. So I did this bloom where you're planted. So I'm going to show you how you get, where do you put your stencil? How do you place it on one of these frames in just a minute. So, but the holes on this are super big, very, very large. And if I was doing a dome brush, I would be able to swirl and I would be able to stipple. But I did my first coat on everything but the small letters with the jumbo dauber. And then I went back with my dome brush and I swirled to fill it in. And it just did such a beautiful job. Now let's take a look at how this looks. It's not quite fully painted, but close enough. So look how pretty that is.
Ta-da! What I love about the frames is the peak of color. So we do have some that are solid, plain and bold, and we're gonna show that, and that's gonna give you, like, that's a hippie noodle whole project blown, but I love the green popping through. Yeah, it's like the reverse. It's just a very elegant, just the detail that you can get with lasers. We love our lasers.
We love you, lasers.
We love you, lasers.
Heart. Okay, so debatey pants. Okay, so let's go here first because this is the placement step. And then these two guys are going to go into the water. And Carrie taught me this. You take the back end of one of your brushes and you stuff it in the water into this little cup right there. And then that will keep it submerged until you're ready to clean it. And sometimes ours are ready to clean in about 2 weeks.
And the reason that you do that is if you just pop it in your water, it will float and it will flip.
Yeah.
And then it will dry out. And then keeping it in the water is what keeps it nice and wet and preserved with the paint in it until you can clean it.
Yeah.
If you have any drying, then you're...
Yeah. So that's one of our goals. We have been working really hard to save you guys money. Don't buy too many of these. You don't need them. If you need them, like whatever, like if you feel the need, go for it. But I'm just saying we want to save you money, not wasting product, not wasting the difference between buying the big paint if you're a crafter that sells versus the small if you're just a crafter that paints for yourself. Big deal. So we want to save you money. We want to show you the tricks. Okay. So this is the cute little frame that fits inside here. And that's what I love is that all of these can go at an angle. They can go in the middle. You can do anything you want with these. So, and this surface can be painted if you use this on a square, so you could totally use this round surface completely by itself, do a band with a stencil or anything like that. So the sky's the limit. All right, so this guy fits in there. I'm going to show you that in just a second. I've got my stencil placed, but one of the most important things about this little thing, I'm going to use this little coffee cup right inside of the middle of my stencil or my frame. And I've got all this stuff over here. I could use that coffee word by itself. I could use the cup by itself. I can use the phrases. I can use the word heaven by itself. Smells by itself.
You could use that in the bathroom.
You could do that. But my point is we're going to just delete this. We're not going to cut our stencil up. We're just going to not use this part of our stencil. So we're going to get our dome brush and we are into number 22 in our colors. If you don't know about our paint chip charts, we have a chart of all the colors that we use and they're in Sherwin-Williams paint, which is in the honey bottles, and they're in DecoArt paints, which is an amazing craft paint that is available at craft stores. So we use number 22, and that way you guys can paint along if you want to and have the results come out the same. It's hard to match paints up on a video.
Yes.
So always offloading, so load the brush, offload the brush. And notice when I'm offloading my brush, I'm spending quite a bit more time. So there's a little bit more wiggle with one of these dome brushes than there is on one of these guys. There's no wiggling happening to this foam structure. So the more wiggle you have with your applicator, the more you want to wipe off. And then we'll come over here, stay away from our letters, and just with a dusting, we'll go over here. If you don't want to bleed under your stencils, you pay attention to this part right here. This is the don't bleed under portion. Because I offloaded so much and I'm using this dome brush, it's domed this way, domed this way. Those of you who have used the brushes, please chime in. This YouTube is a community. More and more I'm learning that. I have picked up more lessons from my fellow YouTube watchers than I have from sometimes the videos I'm watching. So learned some stuff that helped a friend of mine with her child the other day. And I was like, hey, screen snip, here's this comment. So like you guys are as good a teachers as I am, or Carrie is. Okay, so we got that. We're going to let that dry. And I'm just going to hit it with the dryer because otherwise it'll take forever. Hey, we got the cold button on. All right, so stick around because we have foiling and painting with varnish coming up. Like that's the next thing we're going to do. So get this done. I'm going to show you also just right next, I'm going to show you how to glue the frames to their boards. This is very interesting stuff. I feel like that's the...
It is interesting.
It is interesting to me. I can't tell you how many YouTube videos I watch. I'm like, but how'd you do that next part, you know? And they didn't tell me. It's like, please tell me. Okay, so just lift that up. I'm going to show you how to place it. So what I did was I got it kind of framed in. I got out my T-square. I used the back end of the T-square instead of the other end because it's round. And then I got it kind of even. And then I used my triple threat, which has a white ceramic lead, a gray ceramic lead, and a roller ball for tracing without leaving ink. Ink will make a big dent and all of this. This is just a nice roller ball. And so we'll go to our white. And what's neat about the ceramic is it erases with liquids, like good old spit test, spit shine. Water, you can erase it with an eraser. It actually has an eraser on the back end of it. So it erases with all the things. And so it's really easy to remove. If you've ever used a pencil on a painted surface, you know you will never get that off ever. You have to base coat that stuff out, and you'll, like, don't ever use a pencil. Use a ceramic lid. Okay, so I got it all lined up, and so I gave myself 1, 2, 3, 4 little marks. And then my job is to line up so that I basically can't see my lines. Okay, so I've got them right about there. But the reason I want my lines is because now I got to glue this thing down. Okay, so we're going to go on the flip side. And this is probably the worst example to ever show you because it's the worst for me. Okay, so it's super skinny lines and it's placed in the middle. So I don't have like this kind of corner joined. I could lay this down and easily find my center. So I'm going to show you any of the foibles that we find. We like the Aleene's Quick and Tacky glue, and it goes upside down like this, so it's on its nose. And I always have a hard time getting the cap off. So I just put a little smear over there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for my fat areas. Okay. I'm just going to do smears, and I'm not going to do everywhere. This isn't going in the toy box. This is going on the wall. So you don't need to uber glue this thing up. If you're in California and you have earthquakes, maybe you need a little bit extra. Okay, so we'll just go around here and just stucco that around. I'm not doing it thick. I'm holding it down. I'm not going to do any of that scroll work. You can tell what I'm concentrating because I shut up. Okay, put the lid on, always put the lid on and always keep it on its nose because then you won't have all that glue settling that way. That is the magic of this guy. Okay, so now we take our somehow I got schmutz. I've got glitter flying around here from that Halloween project. Okay, so now we lay it down. I got one nose over here, one nose over here, and I should be right about, if I have to slide it, I will. Now I've got a couple of little bits leaking out. It dries clear, so that's good. Steve, I don't know if you can catch those guys right there. So these pointy Q-tips are magic dust. They're like unicorn stuff, right? You just go in there and you take that and you wipe it off. Go pick it up, wipe it off. I think these are in the nail area of Walmart, that kind of place. And they are to fix like little like cuticle spills and stuff like that. They're firm, they are pointy, and they do a great job of cleaning up. So you let that dry. And then you have a cute little coffee bar. All of these would be fantastic in your gallery wall situation. Like they would all be amazing.
So I had a question that I wanted to make sure that we answered.
Okay.
Kelly asked, how do you know what size stencil to get to put inside your frame. So one thing that we love about Kathleen is that she is very amazing at putting dimensions in the descriptions for each of our products. So
it can't be in the subject line because it would make our subject lines
well,
would be like
too
so
many.
big. Yeah.
So for
So many
instance,
words.
I popped up the simple square frame, and in the description it says dimensions. So it has each size listed. It tells you the outer dimension, so the full size, which would be, which one is that?
12 inch.
12 inches. So then it also has an overlay inner dimension, which is 8 by 8.
And
So
that is
then
exactly
that lets
right.
you know that there is 8 inches of open space for you to put your stencils. So you'll want to definitely be reading through the descriptions and looking at the dimensions. If you run across one that does not have something in it, let us know. We have 7,000 products, and
they weren't all made with what we know now.
yes, and so we do have some of our older products that might not have as much information, but we are definitely at the last couple thousand definitely have more information on them. But all of these framed surfaces have outer and inner dimensions so that you can
Yeah, and then I want to jump in because when we were getting ready to introduce these and pull the stencils, I asked the same question. I'm like, Carrie, like, I have 7,000 stencils to choose from, and they all come in a million sizes. Like, how do I find the thing? And her answer was so perfect. She said, choose the topic that you want. So if it's spring, choose something spring. If it's garden, choose something garden. So, you know, it was really easy on this guy with the butterflies, you know, to be like, that's garden for me, or inspiration. So search inspiration. For this guy right here, you're going to search Halloween.
Yeah.
And so then you can look for art that, in this case, you can put this frame this way, or you can do it this way. So you can look for art that's oriented the way that you want it. And then you go and search for what inspires you.
Yeah.
But that made it so much easier. I was literally kind of starting from the top, working my way through the bottom, and I was overwhelmed. But once I switched to that, it became super easy for me. So, and then I've got schmutz on there too.
Lori had a question that I'd like your input on. I'll also give my input on it too.
Yeah.
Lori said, I've been noticing that your backgrounds are going more solid colors. They're simpler, cleaner. Is this a new trend?
So, Lori, really good question, really good noticing. In this case, if I had a lot of grunge, so style-wise, grunge plus this would not be compatible. Like, this is delicate, grunge is not. And so if I did this in an iron color and did a grunge background, the iron plus the grunge would look super like kind of gothic, really cool, Victorian. Like, that'd be really cool. So in this case, these things do not suit a lot of texture. I did see a Pinterest garden sign that had this grungy green background, and I was like, yeah. And then I was like, but I gotta do that to the top layer too. And I was like, no, you know, so sometimes it's laziness.
Yeah, well, sometimes it's also time constraints if we're wanting to show you a lot of things. So I painted all of the signs that are on the wall for our fall collection. And some of them, like the orange round pumpkin behind Patty, it had a lot going on. There's a lot of words, there's designs. So to me, you needed something simple with that so it didn't get too busy. The Embrace Change with the leaves, it had less design, so it gave us some more wiggle room and playroom to be creative with a depth background and adding a frame and then adding some texture so that we can change it up. But I do think that the clean lines are still super duper popular. We're still seeing the tea towel stripes everywhere. I did one with tea towel stripes just because it's still popular. But I do think that the clean lines and simple colors are a definite
I will
popular
tell you,
trend.
on the Trend Watchers thing, there is, if you guys want to go down a squirrel hole of doom, go look up the British Cottage.
Core.
Yep. British Cottage Man. It's coming for you. And it is, so every time we do a flop like this, so we had what is it from 1980s? Oh my gosh, the white on white with all the lace and all the stuff. Shabby chic. So shabby chic, we had that for a while, and then we moved into, you know, the next version, and like the Pioneer Lady's doing her thing right now, and then move into, so we've always got a clean look, and we've always got like a warm, cozy, get your comforter out look.
Yeah.
And there's always two going side by side, and so the clean look is going to be your modern, it's going to be your farmhouse. However, I believe this British cottage plus farmhouse is merging, and you're going to see brilliant things happening.
Patterns and lots of tiny patterns and pastel colors and meshing them together. Like I looked up cottage core, and there's a striped couch with 8 different pillows that are all different colors and different patterns.
But they look great.
But they looks great together.
Yeah.
They look like they mesh, but the patterns, you just throw your patterns and colors together, and it...
Pattern stencils, guys, will make it happen for you. All right, let's paint with varnish. I didn't get my varnish out. So, well, do I have... Oh, there you are. Okay, I got a whole giant drawer down here with all the mediums. We have a mediums drawer, and we have a tools drawer, and then we have a paint drawer. And then fun fact, if you guys have watched my paint, clean your paintbrushes and clean your stencils, you'll see the kitchen. This cabinet used to be my countertop in my kitchen, and this under piece was an IKEA piece. It used to be that, but I bought a whole kitchen off of Facebook and replaced everything for really cheap. And so you can see my kitchen in there. But this is my kitchen cabinets. Okay, so we're gonna paint with varnish. We're gonna use gloss varnish over a dark background. You could do it over light or over dark. It doesn't work as good over a medium value. The word value means darkness. So, and the medium means like it's in the middle, like so it's gonna be just like not too dark, not too light. It's the Goldilocks just right place. So I'm gonna shake my varnish. And one thing about varnish, I think, Steve, if you can look down here, if I tip my palette up, see what's running the fastest? So that varnish has way more liquid in it than that paint. That paint didn't even move. So if I used my dome brush, can you see it?
I can see now, yeah.
Yeah, so if I use my dome brush with this, I'm going to end up with a little bit of a mess. So I'm gonna do something a little bit weird. I'm gonna use my ink sweeper. And the reason I'm gonna do that is because when I put my finger inside there, I can use just the tip of my ink sweeper as a brush. And so I'm gonna be doing words. So I've got wine words all over this. And this is actually the same size as my board. But even if it's the same size, I wanna go ahead and give it 2 pieces of tape. 2 pieces of tape will anchor it, and it won't allow it to move, and I'll show you that really quick. Those of you who have seen this over and over, I'm sorry, but it's very important for the people that are joining us. If you have experience, chime in so that they learn from us. Look at how much that will move with just 1 piece of tape. So if I add it on the opposite side, now I can move the board with it. So it just really makes a big difference. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna offload. We're always gonna offload. Okay, so we'll go in here, offload, and then I'll go right up here with the Riesling and glosses. Always offload. And so I'm just using the tip. I'm only using that piece right there.
So while you're doing this, Brandy asked, what varnish do you recommend? So this is a really loaded question. Brandy, we, on this project, are using a gloss varnish because we want it to be shiny.
Yeah.
On 99.99% of our projects, we will finish with a matte varnish because we don't want it to be shiny.
Yeah.
if you use glitter or if you have multiple layers. So if you are going to varnish this after you put it together, then we recommend the Krylon 1311 spray varnish, because then you have multiple layers and you don't want to get varnish gooped up with your surface and then with your glitter. So the spray is what we use for most of these when we finish them.
Okay, so I want to show you and let you peek with me. Okay, so we're just going to lift that up. And then what you get is this wonderful relief with the words over it. Okay, so it's just so subtle. Are you picking that up okay?
You can see it in the overhead. In this one, there's a shadow.
Yes, in the overhead you can definitely see it.
Okay, so just amazing. So when would you use this technique? Lights and darks. You want a subtle pattern. You want a subtle something going on in the background. On walls, you guys, on a wall, if you take one of our giant jumbo pattern stencils or something like that, you can put it on the wall and you just take your roller and you really, really offload it, like really, really uber offload. How many Ubers can I
Uber.
Get? Uber.
From
Uber,
a town that
Uber.
doesn't have Uber.
We
You
don't
sure are saying
have Uber. Anyway, but if you Uber offload and then roll through your stencil and then you take that off, your paint and that reflection will just add the subtleness that is unbelievable. Okay, so I'm going to put this away because we've...
Not
yet.
quite yet.
Not
We
yet.
have a good question.
Okay.
Cinda wants to know, how do you clean the stencil after using varnish on it?
Varnish is the same as paint, so you don't have to clean it right then. But you can take it right to your sink and then just give it... So when you're cleaning a stencil, you should watch the video, but when you're cleaning a stencil, you don't, I like to lay it in the bottom of my sink or in the bottom of a bin, like a tote. And so if you put it down there, then you just wash it either with your fingers. I don't really like using a cleaning applicator, so because it catches the edges, so I just like to use my hand because I know when I feel it, and I just rub it clean under the warm running water.
So we've had a lot of comments on how cool this technique is.
Cool.
I am going to share a video where we used the stencil, the word backgrounds, and Patty did a varnish on a journal. And so you could see the shiny on the journal. That was super cool.
It's so amazing. So you can use paste through your stencil, and then you could use a white paste, and then you could paint it all one color. Like I could do green over the top of it. You could use your varnish through it. You can use tone-on-tone colors through it. Like, it's amazing what you can do with stencils. I love it. Okay, let's go to foiling, and this is going to be our last thing. But so on my frame, I'm going to take this off. I didn't want to take the whole time up of a live to do the thing, so I've got this here. Pretend, I think we're probably almost dry there. And then I'm going to have this letter in here. And so then the wine words will go behind it. And then one thing, Rollinson's, R for Rollinson, they do like their wine. Okay, so, but we want to make this pop off of here. And so on a gallery wall, this would be so cool to have just the background texture of the shiny letters with the gold leaf of this. And then I might even antique the gold leaf. So I've got 2 coats of the Speedball metal leaf, and the other one that we like might be in the drawer. That's why there's a medium drawer. This is Aileen's foiling glue. This is really great too. I just happened to go to my bin of gold leaf, and this was right there, so I grabbed it when I did it. So I've got 2 coats, and you always want to do 2 coats because, well, if you don't want the leaf to stick very well, do 1 coat. If you want it to stick very well, do 2 coats. And then I've got leaf, and this is Mona Lisa, and I've got a little powder puff to rub the foil on. They come in these little books. Okay, so I've just got a copper colored leaf. And this one is actually one that is adhered to the page. This isn't loose leaf. And so we'll just lay it on there. And then use the puff. The puff doesn't make any marks. It's really great. Like this was the magic dust for me. This is your pro tip right there. And it even extends with the paper. I haven't bought leaf in a long time, so I'm not sure how it's coming these days. Okay, and then we take that off. So this is like a little piece of parchment paper. And then what you do is to get it covered completely is you overlap just a little bit, rub, peel, rub and peel. If you guys are loving this, please make sure that you give us a thumbs up. Algorithms are the bane of our existence for everybody that's on any of these platforms. Give us the thumbs up. That tells other people that that you are finding the content valuable. Okay, so I think that'll do us, and then I'll show you how to finish it up. Okay, so now that took 2 sheets for the whole letter, and now you just buff your edges. Just to get it all cleaned up. It's super easy to do.
I'm always amazed by the gold. It never looks that way when I do it. I don't think that I've been putting 2 layers on.
I think probably
that's something
not, yeah.
that I must have been answering a question in the past when you talked about that.
Yeah, and I may not point it out every time.
2 layers and then letting it sit for a while.
Yeah, I definitely, Steve put his arm in it earlier. He was like, oh. But so how fun is that to have this little bit of shine? And then I do think, Steve, will you grab the bin of the Lustre things and the little discs, you know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
So then you can glue that on with the same glue that we used for the other. And then you could even put a little bit, maybe we'll do some of that, put a little bit of copper color around the board as well. Thank you so much. So we have a whole bin of DecoArt's metallic. Here comes the foil.
No! Not in your cup!
We've done some projects where there's been foil everywhere. Anyway, so we've got the copper color. This is the DecoArt metallic lusters. And we've got a black shimmer and we've got a copper color. So this is a green. I went with all green today. That was kind of weird.
Someone commented that you were painting to match your shirt today.
So interesting. We went to Carrie's mom's house this week and we had a paint consultation. And her cabinets are this black green and they're gorgeous.
It's kind of like the color that is on that.
Yeah, it looks like that, but you don't know if it's black or green, and it's amazing.
And what color is that on
this one is
no, the paint color.
51.
51, thank you.
Yeah, 43 was the green on the back of the other, and I thought this was a good combination, the 22 and the 74 for the coffee one. Okay, so we're gonna get a blue paper towel.
Try my best.
Don't fall. We want something that won't destroy when we're rubbing on things. So we're gonna use the blue. I save those for special occasions. Okay, and night copper, I noticed this the last time I was using it, has been drying out. Make sure you cover these really well. I'm gonna offload just a little bit. And I just wanna give a little sheen to my edge. Just a little bit. Go around the edges and then you buff back. And then I kind of am not loving how that's looking right now. So I'm not gonna lie about that. But I have sandpaper. In the past, we have talked a lot about stenciling being a layers game. Painting is a layers game. So I don't like how that came out really chunky. So I'm gonna sand it back. And I could go ahead, I could distress my edges to make that look better. I could put green back on top. So whatever I wanna do, I can do.
I do what I want.
Yeah. Okay, now I'm getting it. I had a couple chunks. I think it's because it had dried out. I just wanted like a fade over there. So I'll get rid of my little chunky dunk there. And maybe not dig at it so much. And maybe offload a little better. Nope, same. We're not going to be sad about it. Because I love the lesson of when you can't get something to do. I'm going to do it on purpose now. When you can't get something to be exactly how you want it, and then you can fix it. So just go in, sand until you do like it. And so just that little bit of copper in the corners. Okay, so if I put that back over, oh, that little ghosting around there is kind of cool. But now this guy is electric. Whew, he's loud. So now we're gonna go put our lid back on. Once again, make sure you close these really tight. And then we're gonna switch over here and we're gonna go with black shimmer and switch our paper towel out. And this one isn't all dried up. So now I can go on the outer edge and just give him a little tone. Just tone him down. You know when you get brassy hair or something like that, you're like, yeah, so that behaves way better when it's hydrated. Oh, I wonder if you could spray water on them.
Maybe.
That's interesting. Okay, and don't forget to do a little offload. Yeah, just get some kind of moisture in them. I'm not sure what they're, I'm pretty sure they would be water-based. So this is how this all happens around here, is we start with like, ooh, I had this little problem right there. And then we start problem solving how to get rid of the problem and come up with all kinds of solutions. Okay, so wiping back. So the goal is to get some burnishing, irregularity on those edges. Gotta get my shoe shine trick going here. Okay, now cover it up and give it just a little bit of a sand. Honestly, the sanding is picking up the texture. That's kind of fun. Ooh, yeah. So being intentional about it, so right around this edge where I might not even needed paint. So I can go here and be like, yeah, I don't want as much of that there. And I can rip through the copper to tone it down. Ooh, yeah. Okay.
And while you're doing that, it reminds me that...
That's great.
I don't know where they are.
Uh-oh.
But we have a little bucket somewhere of extra pieces of sandpaper.
Yeah.
Oh, it's up there.
Yeah.
So this would be if you were wanting to, like in the little dip of the R on the outside, you cannot get your sanding block in it on the outside of it.
Right here?
Yes. So if you want to clean up the edges on the outside. Yeah. So you can use a piece of leftover sandpaper if it's a spot that you can't get your sanding block.
And then if you needed, a lighter grit and you needed just a spot to go. I love what the sandpaper did to this letter. So let's take a look back on here. If I was taking it further, you guys have seen me spatter a million times. But if I was taking it one step further, I probably would go ahead and spatter on my edges just to give it that little bit of you don't know what you're seeing here. It's almost like powdering your makeup at the end. But see how that doesn't kill you with its like visibility. Like it doesn't, you can't see it from space. So
like
I love the look of the sanded with the texture of the paint or the actually the
really
blue
good.
background. That is amazing. I would probably spatter my edges with some copper paint as well, and then of course finishing my background lettering.
Background.
Yeah.
All right, so before we finish up, I want to remind all of our stencil fans that today, 10/10/23, is the last day to purchase a pre-order of our October 2023 project of the month. They will be shipped out on 10/17/23. And the reason that I'm mentioning it again is because we have had people who have, since they started watching us today, have gone and purchased. They said that the things that you have been saying about it are irresistible and they couldn't wait. So I had a couple comments that I wanted to read just that we got today. Kelly said the past project of the month have been incredible and I can't wait to receive mine. Deb says their project of the month is worth getting. And Blake said every project of the month has blown my hippie noodle. I can't wait for this month's.
Yeah.
Patty is really talking this one up, and I thought the last two were really good.
I think this is the best. I really like this one. I really like this one. It's cool. Yeah. I'm just gonna foot out, lean back, arms crossed, give you some sass because I think it's cool. All right, you guys, thank you so much for joining us. Make sure give us your questions, give us thumbs up, subscribe, ring the bell. We'll see you next Tuesday.